Well, the dealership didn't want to fix this one, so I got it pretty cheap. Picked this thing up for $3,000. This one's pretty new. It's a 2022 TBoss 750 UTV from Massimo. Brand new. These go for $15,000. Crazy. But this one's pretty nice. EFI, power steering, GPS, touchscreen display, fold out windshield. Tires are basically brand new on it. 3,000 pound winch. I think only 800 miles. So I think I'm getting a pretty good deal. We'll see at the end of the video once we start tearing into it. But this one has a major problem. The dealership said this thing starts up, moves, but clicks and knocks while moving. It sounds horrible. They said they took off the clutch cover thinking it was the clutch, and it was not. So they had the clutch off, diagnosing that. They couldn't figure it out. They think it's internal in the engine, and that's why they're selling it. Wasn't worth their time. So today we're gonna see if we can get this thing fixed up. I'm hoping it's something easy, but it could be something very serious. I figured for $3,000, you really can't lose. This is basically a brand new machine. Massimo does make some cool looking products, and I like the camo edition. It's got the dump bed here. Straps are holding it on, but pretty deep dump bed there. Pretty nice. Lights, tailgate. Oh yeah, really nice. Clutch cover. Nice tailgate there. So you've got the parking brake here. You've got 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive button here. Blinkers here. You've got the gauge up here for mile per hour. And then right here, you turn the machine on here. You can see the engine light is on. You can see the mileage there, 837 miles. The shifters here, low, high, neutral, reverse. Lights, diff lock. So it's got rear diff lock, and then the winch control. Little cubby here. This thing folds down, armrests with cup holders. It's pretty nice. So here's the screen. So you've got a top light here. You've got mile per hour. You can change that to kilometers per hour. Yep, there you go. You've got your GPS. GPS is working good. It's kind of cool. Got Bluetooth for music. This one has a backwards and forward camera. Kind of cool. You can hook up your phone for messages, and you've got your settings here. So kind of cool to have the touch screen on here. Gas tank is right here. So yeah, not a bad looking machine for $3,000. I really hope it's a simple fix here. So that's the new project. So today's goal is to get this thing up and running good and hopefully fixed. But we might have to take out the engine, we'll see. All right, let's get this thing off the trailer, start digging into it. All right, key on. Let's see here. Brake in. Battery's dead. Oh yeah, big battery in there. There we go. Fire it up. Doesn't sound like it's knocking at all. But we learned from last UTV that even if it's not knocking, the rod bearing still could be bad. Sounds pretty smooth. There's the clutch going in there. Sounds good at idle, doesn't it? Not too bad. Oh, I just noticed the hitch was broken off. You know what? I wonder if they tried to pull something too heavy. Yeah, it's not smoking at all. Looks to be working pretty good. Sounds pretty good. There's the dump bed. All right, here we go. We're gonna try to go forward with it. Listen to the engine here. That sounds absolutely awful. I don't want to ride it too much like that. It's just shaking the whole engine when I do it. I can hear it just knock and knock. See, the axles look good. Those are nice and tight. Let's see the front ones. Those are tight. U-joint in here. It's nice and tight. Huh. Back here. Everything looks good back there. Alright, we're going to try to go forward with it. You guys listen from the back. Sounds really, really rough. Release the parking brake. Put this thing into high. See the high button pop up right there. Now listen to this. Ooh. Yeah, I don't want to drive it too much like this. To reverse, the camera comes back on right away. Not good. Alright. See if the blinkers are working. Yep. See if the headlights are working. The brights. Yep. That's working. Cool, looks like everything's working good. Still idling perfect. Sounds really good at idle. Alright, we're gonna try to push this in neutral, see if it makes any noise. Alright, doesn't make any noise in neutral, pushing it. So as you can hear, that knocking sound does not sound good. You can see the rear tires, they just kind of spin, knock, and this thing just jerks around. And it's really, really hard to drive without hearing that noise. Does it in reverse, low, high, every gear it does it in. So I'm guessing transmission issues. Let's see if the engine's loose in there. Doesn't feel too loose. Take a look at this air filter first. A little bit of dirt in there. Looks pretty clogged. Air filter's got a lot of debris in there. Pretty clogged up. Definitely needs to be cleaned out. Looks like it's been sitting for a while. Alright, so up front we've got the battery. We've got the solenoid. I actually really like this design so far. Everything's right out in the open. Battery's up front. It's not below the seat. That's pretty nice. The solenoid's right here. Easily accessible. And you've got your fuses right here. That's really nice. And then you've got your GPS antenna for the GPS there. So everything is right out in the open, easily accessible. So far I like it a lot. I think. Maybe. Alright, coolant looks topped off in there. It's filled up all the way. That's good. Alright, we're on the left side of the machine. There's the dipstick for the oil. Let's see if I can get that out. Let's see how full it is. That's about halfway full. So there's oil in it. I think what we're going to do now is jack up the rear and try to start this thing up and put it in gear and see what it sounds like. That way we can get a better understanding as to what's going on. If you look down here, by the drive shaft down here, you can hear there's a little knocking sound in the rear diff going on. So it could possibly still be the rear diff. We'll have to drain out the rear diff oil and see if that's all crunched up. Wheels are jacked up a couple inches above the floor. So let's just see if we hear anything when we start this thing up. Anything? Tires spin smooth. No binding. Alright, let's fire this thing up. Alright, so we're in neutral right now. If you spin that as fast as you can't hear any noise. If you spin this tire that way, this one rotates the other way, which is common. So I'll rotate the opposite way here. So that's all normal. I don't like that sound. So you can hold that wheel and it won't rotate, and that one will spin. So let's just check the oil here in the diff. See what that looks like. We're just gonna drain this completely. See if there's any chunks in there. Alright, that was pretty loose. I think the dealership checked this. So far on the magnet, nothing, no metal chunks or anything yet. Alright, here's the oil for the rear diff. Not much in there for oil. Looks a little metallic-y. Kind of hard to tell. That might just be the color of the oil. It really doesn't look that bad. Look up close. Might just be gray colored oil, you know. I don't see any big chunks. Nothing like that. All right, so rear diff oil wasn't that bad, wasn't that low. I'm not really thinking it's the rear diff at this point. We are going to take off the clutches, or try to. And what we're gonna do is take off the primary clutch so that we can see if when we put it in gear, the secondary locks up. All right, instead of taking off the whole clutch, we're just gonna try to take off the belt. So we put a bolt in there, tighten that up, and the belt is now pretty loose. And try to reach down in there and get that belt off. Hopefully it's enough to get it off here. I think it will be. Yep, there we go. Alright, we can check out the belt here. Doesn't look too bad. Belt checks out. Alright, now we're going to take this bolt back out. Rotating that over. I don't hear any noises at all. Little play there. Alright, put this into gear, and now you can see it will rotate the whole machine. Just seeing if there's any slop in there and what that sounds like. It's not getting stuck. Looks like it's rotating correctly. Alright, so taking off the belt didn't really help us too much. I really don't hear anything with it running. And when it's in gear, pushing it, you can't really hear too much. So I think the only way we can figure out what's going on is disconnect the diff from the drive shaft, start this thing up with the belt on, see if it rotates that drive shaft, and see if it still makes that noise. If it's disconnected from the differential and it still makes that noise, we know it's in the engine, something's going on. If it doesn't make the noise, we know it's in the differential. So we now have to somehow get the drive shaft disconnected from the differential and try to get that differential out. All right, to get this bed off, there's two pins. You can see them right down there, and then right over there. Pound them out with a hammer, should come off. There's one pin. Alright, we got the bed off. Pretty easy access to the engine from there. That is not too bad at all. Looks like there's one engine mount here. Couple down there. That's not too bad. If we do have to take this engine out, it shouldn't be horrible. So the drive shaft is right down here. I'm hoping these 4 bolts holding that on. So these bolts hopefully can come off here. Got this one loosened up, I think, or this one here. Yeah, that one's loose. I think if we loosen these up, loosen up the differential, we should be able to get that shaft out. Or disconnect it from the engine, at least. There's that one. That one broke free. Alright, put the parking brake on. Now we can hopefully get these other 2 bolts free here. There we go. That one came. That one came. See if we can separate these now. These 2 plates. I'm guessing we're gonna need to free up that differential a little bit. Differential's loose. Let's see if we can move it back a little bit to disconnect it from the engine. Here we go. Oh, there we go. That's completely disconnected now. Drive shaft there. Cool, that wasn't too bad. It was just 4 bolts up here. One here, one there, one there, one there. And then the bracket on the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now the differential is loose in there. And all right, now we'll start this thing up, put it in gear, see if it still makes noises. Hopefully it doesn't. I'm hoping it's the rear diff. That'd be a lot less expensive than the engine. All right, here we go, moment of truth. We're hoping it doesn't make a knocking sound. If it does, we know it's in the engine. If it doesn't, we know it's in the diff. So let's see what happens here. This one should be interesting. I hope we don't have to tear out this engine. Let's see what happens. Making that clicking noise. Shoot. Ooh, that one didn't sound good. So it's definitely in the engine. Of course it is, right? So the whole engine has to come out, and then we can start digging into it. What a bummer. All right, so unfortunately, the problem is internal. But fortunately, we found out that it is internal. Instead of tearing out the whole differential in the back and going through all that, now we can just focus on getting this engine out and solving this issue. So it looks like this rack has to come off. I'm probably going to take this whole seat panel off, and then a couple engine mounts, a couple pipes, wires, cables. We can check out the water pump there, make sure that's working. It's pretty wide open, easy to work on. So once we get everything else off, it should come out fairly easily. All right, underneath here, towards the rear, is where we can get the engine oil out. You can see there's a bolt right up there. All right, we've got the oil drain in here. That oil looks pretty fresh. Doesn't look too bad. And from the looks of it, doesn't look horrible, but there could be chunks at the bottom. So let's take a magnet, see if we can fish out any chunks here. They might be aluminum chunks. So we'll have to see. Oh, here's some. Uh-oh. Yeah. There's definitely chunks in there. Look at that. Lots of flakes. Yeah, look at that. Huh. I wonder what failed. All right, now we're left over with all the chunks here. So this is all metal right here. Bunch of little pieces. So I wonder if the gears in there are all ground up. All right, we can drain out this coolant. All right, we can start disconnecting things. Got that disconnected. Line here. See what that looks like. Yeah, she was carboned up pretty good. Running pretty rich. Here. All right, there's a couple oil lines right here. We marked it off with tape. We marked top on the tape for the top line. That way we know when we put it back together which line goes where. I'll get those off there. There we go. Oil kind of drip out. Alright, oil lines are off. Alright, engine's pretty loose in there now. We got all the engine bolts out. A couple of them are a little tricky to get to, but not too bad. But you can see engine is loose in there. We're trying to figure out if we can get it through this small gap here, or if we need to take off the plastics here. Maybe. Do we have enough room now to get this engine out? That's the question. This bar doesn't come out at all, right there. We might have to get it out through here. Lift it up through the center, because the bar right here does not come out. And this area looks smaller than the one over there. right here on the transmission, you can see a wire going through. That's connected back to the front of the machine. To take that off before we can get this engine out. So there's 1, 2, 3. I think there's only 3 bolts holding that on. That one's loose already. Alright, that's what that looked like. So that cable pulls in and out. The brake needs to be pushed in to allow it to shift. And that's what that looks like in there. So now the stator cover has to come off as well. You can see this wire going in. It goes all the way to the front of the machine. So let's get the stator cover off and take a look at that. Get it out. Try to save this gasket. Oh, that broke already. Looks like it looks pretty good. And there's just a starter gear in there. Nothing too much in there. A flywheel. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So now we can get the stator kind of out of the way. Got your engine hoist in here. I don't know if that's gonna fit through there. That's a pretty tight fit. Huh. Maybe if we take the oil filter off, it will, possibly. I don't know. It'd be pretty tight. If I can get this bottom piece. That might work. I think we got her. long as my straps don't break, should be good. There's no way you could do this without the lift. No way. So, good thing we have that. Yeah, it's a pretty big engine. So something's going on in the transmission here. It looks like the whole case is one. So transmission and engine case are all one big case together. So unfortunately top end has to come all apart in order to get that apart. But let's just see if there's anything in the oil filter here. Oil in the filter, that's good. Put that off to the side. Alright, now we're going to try to get this engine on the bench and start digging into it. Alright, engine is on the bench. If I had to guess, this thing probably weighs around 150 pounds. Is it reverse? Let's see. Huh. That one's on there. Holy cow. Alright, we got the primary bolt out right here. That one came off easy. Here's our puller. Let's see if this one works. This clutch was already off. The dealership took it off supposedly, so hopefully it just comes right out. Wrong way. It's not good. Doesn't want to come out. All right, let's start tearing down the top end here. That's all of them there. Caps can come off. Their gaskets. Now this cover should pop off. Held on by a couple bolts here. rockers look pretty good. Alright. See what the cam chain's doing. That's nice and tight. Cam looks good. Decompression mechanism is working, it looks like. Cool. This can come off. Just like that. Clamp. Bunch of coolant. Here. Get that off right away. See if that was working pretty good. Yeah, that's not budging at all. So that looks good. Alright, next we've got the 4 bolts here. And we can probably get this cam off too. It looks like the cam is actually on this thing right here, which is very interesting. Huh. So I wonder how you get that cam over there. Trying to get this cam bolt off. Got the breaker bar holding the flywheel. There we go. That's reverse thread. So that looks like that. A little C-clip holding the decompression pin in. Now this can come out. So you can pull that pin out. And this whole cam chain can come off here. So that decompression pin goes right in here. Like that, and sits in there like that. As you can see, as that moves, it'll push that pin like that, and this rotates right here. That's all good to go. Got the cam chain off, so now the cam can just free float there. There we go. Crisscross pattern. Don't want the head to warp. Oh man, it's around there pretty good. You have your washers on the bolts. Looks like they're doubled up on washers. So 2 washers per bolt. That's very odd. You can see 2 separate washers per bolt. Interesting. Head can come off. Lots of coolant draining out. There we go. Looks pretty good. And this thing was running good, so there's no reason anything should be bad on the top end. But we'll check everything over just in case. Guide. That's a huge guide right there. That's not all chewed up or anything. That looks good. Cam chain feels good. Head gasket. Looks pretty good. All right, and then the cylinder. Let's see, I think that can just come right off. Oh, there's a couple bolts on the side here. A couple Allens. These Allens are not in a great spot to get off. Luckily they weren't too tight. Otherwise those would stripped out pretty easily. And you're kind of stuck. You have to cut those out. Hopefully. There we go. No scratches on the cylinder at all. Looks pretty good. Piston rings look free. Piston looks good. It's labeled intake right here, so that's the way the piston goes. See the rod bearing here? Rod bearing feels nice and tight. So that all looks good there. Got the circlip off. Push the pin out. Alright, there's the piston. Looks pretty good. Alright, feel the rod again. A little side to side. No up and down at all. So rod bearing is good to go. Alright, this UTV didn't appear to be smoking. We're just gonna check the ring gap here quick. Make sure that's good. Alright, get the first ring off. And it looks like, let's see if it was on the right way. So there's a little indent on this one. You can see. So the grooved out is on the top on this one. I don't see any numbers or anything. Let's check the ring gap here. Oh, that's nice and tight. Yeah, that's well within spec. So that one looks good. And this one, the second ring, is on correct. You can see the numbers right there, facing up. Let's just quick check that one. Again, ring gap is perfect on that. That's a nice tight ring gap. So yeah, rings are perfect. Piston looks good, no braking. Everything looks good there. We'll clean up that carbon when we reinstall it, but that all looks really good. Cylinder doesn't have a single scratch on it. So cylinder, piston, whole top end looks perfect. All right, let's try to get this flywheel off. It's on there pretty tight. This thing is torqued down tight. We finally got it to budge, I think. Oh, there we go. Wow. It's on there. All right. Looks like that had red Loctite on it. Alright, the only puller I have is right here. It's the right threads, but it doesn't go on far enough. So this thing takes a custom puller to get, unfortunately. Alright, coming over to the clutch side, we got the bolt off on the primary. The secondary is not coming off. And I don't have the correct puller for the primary. So we have to order up a puller for it and a puller for the flywheel. So that's as far as we can take this thing today. If you guys check this out. So right now, this thing is in gear. And you can actually hear it. Sounds like it's skipping the gear in here. So as I turn this shaft, you can hear it. See, I can rotate it when it's in gear. So that's not good. So you can see it's in gear. And it's not spinning the engine, it's just grinding those teeth. So I'm really curious to see what it looks like in the transmission here. It'll be very interesting to see, but we're gonna have to wait until next video until we can get those pullers. But it does not sound good. So stay tuned for next video, and we'll split this engine open and see what the damage looks like. Alright, so next video we are going to tear apart that engine, see what the damage looks like in the transmission, and then rebuild it, get this thing all back together, and hopefully have a awesome running, driving 2022 TBoss 750. I think we're gonna have a really nice machine once this thing's all done. And I don't think we're gonna have a ton of money into it. It doesn't need an engine rebuild, so that's good. And I think the cases are all good, it looks like at least. So no cracking in the cases. We'll see once we tear it apart how bad it is in the transmission. But I think you can get all the transmission gears for relatively cheap. I don't think over $500. So if we can rebuild this thing for 500 bucks, get it back together, we'll have a $15,000 machine for $3,500. So I'm feeling pretty optimistic about this one. Getting the engine out wasn't too bad today. 4 bolts here on this drive shaft, 4 on that drive shaft. And then you had the engine mount right here, engine mount right here, and then one above right here. And then obviously the pipe had to come off, a couple coolant lines you can see, and then a couple wires, but really wasn't too bad. And then we were able to get the whole engine out through the back, which was really nice. So all in all, this probably took me maybe 2 hours to get the engine out. And then the rest of the diagnostics, probably another 4 to 5 hours. But the engine teardown's going pretty fast. Top end took like 10 minutes. And the bottom end shouldn't take much longer. Just have to get the flywheel off, the clutch off, and then this case should split relatively easy. There's really nothing holding it together except for a couple bolts. So I think once we get those pullers, everything will go really, really fast. And then we can get this thing repaired and back in the machine. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video picking this thing up. I was hoping it was going to be a bad differential in the back here, but it turned out it was a bad transmission. So that was unfortunate. But on the bright side, every machine I work on and bring in is another learning experience. So I'm learning a lot. Hopefully you guys are. And stay tuned for next video. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next one. And until next time, we are out.